All of the Star Wars galaxy's sentient species were smart to some degree, but as you might expect, some were smarter than others. A number of species were considerably more intelligent, on average, than humans or members of most other species. Among them were the Colomai and the species we'll be talking about today, the Bith. You probably know the Bith as the species that seemingly churns out a lot of musicians, with the most well-known Bith characters being Figrin D'an and the Modal Nodes, otherwise known as the Mos Eisley Cantina Band. But aside from being excellent musicians, Bith were geniuses too, and in this video, we'll be telling their story.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The Bith evolved on Clak'dor 7, which orbited the bright white star Kolu. Clak'dor 7 was located in one of the galaxy's more remote systems, but its close proximity to the Rimmer trade route allowed its natives to join the Republic much earlier than many of their neighbors. Originally a world of beautiful mountains and dense jungles, Clak'dor 7 was the birthplace of one of the galaxy's most ancient civilizations, with the Bith tracing their history back tens of thousands of years. The Bith were a peaceful and highly advanced people, something they owed to their natural intelligence. For a humanoid species, the Bith were pretty unusual. They breathed through their skin and didn't have noses, though they could smell through sensitive organs in their cheeks. They only had one lung and had evolved past the need for sleep, something our scriptwriter wishes he could do. Instead, they entered meditative trances for 4 hours, during which they were almost completely aware of their surroundings, but still got a full night's worth of rest. Bith were also known for their extremely powerful senses. They had high manual dexterity and a keen sense of smell. Their eyes were extremely precise, allowing Bith to see microscopic details, but this came at the cost of extreme nearsightedness. Bith could hear with incredible precision, able to distinguish tone and pitch as easily as most humans can distinguish colors. This, for the record, was why so many of them were musicians. These keen senses, plus the fierce intelligence of most Bith, made them an incredibly capable species, able to master anything from the subtleties of music to hyperspatial physics. By the time of the films, Bith society was highly dependent on automation and advanced supercomputers. Their government officials were all chosen by complex algorithms, which simultaneously sounds like the best and worst idea we've ever heard. Those same algorithms also governed Bith reproduction. A great many modern Bith were infertile, and due to this, the species had abandoned conventional mating in favor of artificial conception and gestation, a process that took about a year in total. Bith who desired offspring would take genetic samples of themselves, bring them to a computer mating service, and let the computers sort out the rest. Algorithms would sort through the various genetic samples and match up compatible ones, which would subsequently be used to create new Bith. Due to their excellent hearing, many Bith became musicians, and the music of many Bith bands enjoyed galaxy-wide popularity. Bith musicians were a staple of cantinas across the Outer Rim, leading to many beings stereotyping Bith as musicians. But the Bith excelled in many other careers too. Plenty of Bith were artists of a different sort, creating breathtaking paintings, sculptures, and poems. On Clak'dor 7, most Bith were either full-time artists or practiced some form of art as a hobby, making their cities among the most beautiful in the galaxy. Another popular career for Bith was bartending. On Clak'dor 7, bartenders acted almost like priests, providing emotional and spiritual advice to their customers as well as drinks. Naturally, due to their intelligence, Bith also excelled as scientists, engineers, and data analysts. Clak'dor 7 produced all sorts of high technology, including cybernetic implants, droids, and advanced starship upgrades. Many off-world Bith worked for companies that produced the same things, often as designers or engineers. Of course, the high intelligence of the Bith also meant that they were suited for less reputable careers. Many Bith became part of the criminal underworld, and while their relative lack of aggression made them poor crime bosses, they were well suited to jobs like spice refinement. Since all children on Clak'dor 7 were created artificially, the algorithms that ran Bith society performed midichlorian counts on all Bith newborns. During the Age of the Republic, Bith who were found to be Force sensitive were automatically turned over to the Jedi Order without much of a fuss, unlike with most other species. As a result, many Bith could be found in the ranks of the Jedi, with many serving as Jedi consulars, which complemented their typical peaceful disposition. Of course, not all Bith Force sensitives ended up becoming Jedi. Darth Tenebrous, a Dark Lord of the Sith, was a Bith, though he was likely born somewhere other than Clak'dor 7 since the Jedi never detected him. The Bith were known for being pacifists, but they weren't always that way. In around 300 BBY, two of the largest Bith city-states, the planetary capital Weogar and the domed city of Nozho, went to war over a patent dispute. After the dispute, which was over patent rights to an advanced hyperdrive model, escalated in a normal fashion for about a year, Nozho dropped chemical weapons on Weogar, wiping out most of the city's population. In retaliation, the survivors in Weogar obliterated Nozho with biological weapons. In the process, the ecosystem of Clak'dor 7 was contaminated by pollutants released by the war and destroyed. The planet's jungles became toxic swamps dominated by vicious predators, and the Bith were forced to retreat to sealed dome cities. But the devastation of Clak'dor 7 did little to halt the progress of the Bith species. The Bith only took a few decades to recover from the war, though the conflict had lasting impacts on the species as a whole. While the Bith continued to export art and high technology, the war meant that they had to start importing food and raw materials, making Clak'dor 7 highly independent on local trade. The war also turned most Bith into pacifists, with many Bith senators who were appointed after the war advocating for total galactic disarmament. The war also led to the development of two new subspecies of Bith, the Alagar, who lived on isolated islands out in Clak'dor 7's wilderness, and the Abith, or Ghost Bith. The Abith were descendants of Bith who'd had their DNA altered by the chemical weapons used in the war, giving them a number of distinctive mutations and making them slightly more aggressive. After the war, the Abith relocated to Clak'dor 7, where they failed to reintegrate back into mainstream Bith society. While most pacifists stayed neutral or supported the Republic in the Clone Wars, the Bith supported the CIS. Truth be told, they didn't have all that much of a choice. All of their neighbors were seceding, and as we mentioned earlier, Clak'dor 7 was heavily dependent on trade. The Separatists also promised the Bith greater independence and access to Separatist trade routes, which sealed the deal for Clak'dor 7's government assembly. As pacifists, most Bith didn't participate directly in the Clone Wars, but Clak'dor 7 exported plenty of its technology to the CIS, indirectly aiding the Sepi war effort. Additionally, many Bith artists made propaganda and artistic tributes for the Separatist cause, viewing the Republic as morally corrupt. The Bith's loyalty to the Confederacy and their nature as an alien species meant that Clak'dor 7 suffered severe reprisals during the time of the Empire. The Bith didn't resist the Empire due to their pacifist code, and many Bith assisted the Imperial military as technicians. But the Empire still treated Clak'dor 7 terribly. Bith were persecuted, and the conditions on their homeworld became so bad that they had to request humanitarian relief missions from the Rebel Alliance. Fortunately for the Bith, Clak'dor 7 was one of the first worlds liberated by the New Republic after the Battle of Endor. Despite all the Bith had suffered under the Empire, however, Clak'dor 7 was initially hesitant about the New Republic, but they eventually came around. Aside from the bit about committing war crimes over a patent, the Bith sound pretty chill to us. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on the Bith? Let us know all that and more in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.